Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today, we've got some crucial news you don't want to miss. Let's dive right into the top financial headlines and break down what's happening. Here are two big updates today that are worth your attention. 1. November Consumer Spending Index. This morning, the U.S. Commerce Department released the Consumer Spending Index for November, a key metric the Federal Reserve relies on to gauge inflation. Unlike general inflation data, consumer spending gives a more precise picture of the current inflationary trends. The numbers were encouraging. Overall consumer spending rose 0.4% in November, up from October's 0.3% increase. The Core Personal Consumption Expenditures (PCE) index, which excludes energy and food, climbed just 0.1%, the smallest jump in 6 months. Why is this good news? Consumer spending drives about 2/3 of U.S. economic activity, so a 0.4% increase signals strong consumption heading into the holiday season. Plus, this was during November's Thanksgiving season, known for high retail activity. The Wall Street Journal summarized it well: inflation appears to be cooling and is more manageable than expected. However, Wall Street investors had mixed feelings. If these numbers had come out earlier in the week, it might have softened Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's hawkish tone on Tuesday, potentially avoiding the market's big dip after his speech. Now, investors are wondering, could this data fuel a Santa Claus rally to recover Wednesday's losses? It's something worth watching. 2. Consumer sentiment and economic growth. The second key update came from the University of Michigan, which released its December Consumer Sentiment Index this morning. The index rose to 74, a noticeable improvement from November's 71.8. This uptick in consumer sentiment suggests that spending is likely to remain strong, which is great news for the broader economy. Alongside this, their survey showed that consumers expect inflation over the next year to hit 2.8%, slightly higher than last month's forecast of 2.7%. While it's not a major change, it shows people aren't expecting inflation to improve much in the near term. Adding to this, the Atlanta Federal Reserve also released its latest forecast today, predicting that Q4 GDP growth will reach 3.2%, indicating that the U.S. economy remains robust. The takeaway? Here's the tricky part: Powell's hawkish stance earlier this week might not be far off. Even though inflation looks mild based on today's spending data, strong income growth and a resilient economy make the case for staying cautious about inflation. As a result, what initially seemed like great news for the market is being tempered by mixed signals. It's a classic case of how economic data creates a complex narrative that investors have to navigate. What starts as a big win can quickly turn into a more modest gain once all the numbers are factored in. Today's top US political story is all about the looming threat of a government shutdown. Here's a quick breakdown of what's happening and what it could mean for you. 1. The shutdown drama on Capitol Hill. Bloomberg reports that after a government funding bill supported by former President Trump failed in the House on Thursday, Speaker Mike Johnson scrambled to come up with a new plan. He's now working with Democrats to hammer out a deal before the midnight deadline to avoid a shutdown. While Johnson negotiates behind closed doors, Elon Musk stirred the pot online. This morning, he posted on X, formerly Twitter, "Pass a smart bill that actually serves the people, or shut it all down." His post got plenty of cheers from his supporters, adding to the already tense political atmosphere. Here's where things stand. Yesterday's failed vote followed Trump's explicit instructions, pushing for a quick vote bypassing committee review. This required 2/3 support in the House, but the bill didn't even get a simple majority. Today, the Republicans are reverting to the standard process: committee review first, then a House vote needing only a simple majority. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, who opposed the bill yesterday, was still fuming today. Speaking to Bloomberg, he said, "For the first time in my life, I have nothing to say." Meanwhile, Trump hasn't been quiet. On his Truth Social platform, he pressured Republicans to stand firm. If the government is going to shut down, let it shut down now under Biden's leadership, not after January 20th when I'm back in charge. Trump's message? Don't compromise. If there's going to be a shutdown, better now than later. 2. What happens if the government shuts down? With time running out, a shutdown seems more likely by the hour. So, what's the impact? Here's what you need to know. Travel delays. Air traffic controllers and TSA agents will still work, but without pay. During the 2018 shutdown under Trump, Some of these workers called in sick, leading to staff shortages, longer security lines, and massive flight delays or cancellations. Capital markets. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is considered a non-essential, meaning most of its staff won't work during a shutdown. This could put IPO filings and other regulatory activities on hold. Social welfare and Medicare. Critical programs like Social Security payments will continue, but new applications and welfare card issuances could stall, affecting thousands of people daily. The stock market. Interestingly, Wall Street isn't too worried. According to a Wall Street Journal analysis, in the last 4 government shutdowns, the S&P 500 index actually gained value instead of dropping. Economic growth. Goldman Sachs estimates that a 1-week shutdown would shave off 0.15% from US GDP growth, but the rebound after reopening would offset the loss. The bottom line. For most Americans, a shutdown could mean travel headaches, delayed welfare benefits, and maybe some political drama to watch. Wall Street, however, is largely unfazed. As one analyst put it, the markets don't care much about the political noise unless it starts hitting their bottom line. So, whether you're a political enthusiast or just watching from the sidelines, this is one showdown worth keeping an eye on. The third news to share with you is Elon Musk sparks controversy with support for Germany's AfD. Recent remarks by Elon Musk have stirred heated political debates in Germany. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, Musk declared that only the far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, could save Germany. This drew sharp criticism from German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who did not hold back during a press conference in Berlin today. Scholz's response to Musk's comments. When asked about Musk's statement, Scholz replied, "We value freedom of speech, and this applies to billionaires as well. But freedom of speech also means the freedom to say things that are incorrect and devoid of sound political advice." Musk's critiques of Scholz are not new. Following the collapse of Germany's ruling coalition last month, Musk publicly labeled Scholz a fool. Now, his open endorsement of the AfD has further strained relations. Implications for Germany's political landscape. Musk's support for the AfD also indirectly undermines Friedrich Merz, leader of the centre-right Christian Democratic Union, CDU. Currently leading in the polls with 33% support, Merz is positioned as the front-runner for Germany's next chancellor. Meanwhile, the AfD trails with 19% support. The AfD's platform is polarizing, with proposals including exiting the European Union and reinstating the Deutsche Mark over the euro. Closer ties with China and Russia, both politically and economically. The party's controversial ties have made waves before. Last year, during the European Parliament elections, a senior aide to an AfD leader was exposed as a Chinese spy. Despite these scandals, the AfD enjoys strong support in East Germany, where its nationalist rhetoric resonates with many voters. Can Musk's influence sway German politics? Whether Musk's endorsement will benefit the AfD remains uncertain. His controversial remarks often amplify debates, but their real impact on elections is unclear. With Germany's federal elections scheduled for February 23, 2025, the political dynamics could still shift. For now, Chancellor Scholz, Friedrich Merz, and the CDU appear focused on countering the AfD's growing influence while addressing Germany's pressing economic and social challenges. Key takeaway. As Musk continues to dominate global headlines with his political interventions, his latest remarks on German politics have added another layer of complexity to an already tense election season. Will this mark a turning point, or is it just another fleeting controversy? Time will tell. Next, Ontario Premier warns of trade war fallout, points to China as the winner. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, Canada's largest provincial economy, is urging the US to reconsider its approach to tariffs, warning that a trade war between Canada and the United States could ultimately benefit China. Ford's appeal to Trump. In a direct message to the Trump administration, Ford expressed his eagerness to negotiate an agreement that strengthens US access to Canada's critical minerals and energy resources. He emphasized that such a partnership would help the US gain a competitive edge in strategic industries where it currently lags behind China. President Trump has threatened to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian goods, a move that risks destabilizing the long-standing trade relationship between the two North American allies. Ford highlighted the economic interdependence between Ontario and US states like Michigan and Kentucky, particularly in the automotive sector. Economic stakes for Ontario. As Canada's financial and manufacturing hub with a population of 16 million, Ontario stands to suffer significantly from broad US tariffs. The province's automotive industry, deeply integrated with American factories, would face substantial disruptions. Ford argued that the only winner in a Canada-US trade war is China. Ford also issued a stark warning: if a full-scale trade war erupts, Canada might retaliate by reducing energy exports to the US, restricting access to critical minerals essential for manufacturing and defense. Broader implications of US-Canada tensions. The tensions show no signs of easing. President Trump continues to mock Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, even suggesting that Canada could become the 51st state of the United States. This is not the first time US-Canada relations have been strained under Trump's leadership. During his first term, Canada was drawn into the Meng Wanzhou affair, becoming entangled in the US-China geopolitical rivalry. Now, the threat of a trade war adds another layer of complexity to their partnership. Key takeaway: the current conflict highlights the risks of destabilizing North American trade alliances. Both nations must rely on their leaders' diplomatic skills to de-escalate the situation and prevent economic fallout. As Ford noted, maintaining a strong Canada-US partnership is essential to countering China's growing influence on the global stage. Will cooler heads prevail, or will this dispute escalate further? For now, the stakes remain high for both nations, and for the global economy. Finally, let's focus on Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. Malaysia reopens investigation into MH370, what we know 10 years on. Malaysia has announced the restart of its investigation into the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, one of the greatest aviation mysteries in history. Here's a comprehensive look at what we know about this tragic incident and the renewed search efforts. The disappearance. What happened? On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, carrying 239 passengers and crew, vanished en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Key events leading up to its disappearance include: the flight's last confirmed communication occurred approximately 40 minutes after takeoff. Captain Zari Ahmed Shah signed off with "Good night, Malaysia 370" as the plane entered Vietnamese airspace. Shortly afterward, the aircraft's transponder was turned off, rendering it untraceable by standard radar. Military radar later tracked the plane deviating from its planned route, flying back across Malaysia and over Penang Island before heading toward the Andaman Sea. It then turned south, where all communication ceased. Search efforts over the last decade. Initial search, 2014 to 2017. An extensive underwater search funded by Malaysia, Australia, and China relied on satellite data from Inmarsat, which detected automated pings from the aircraft. Despite a $143 million effort across the southern Indian Ocean, no significant wreckage was found, and the search was officially called off in January 2017. Second search, 2018. In 2018, Malaysia contracted a US exploration firm under a unique no-find, no-feel arrangement. The company searched for 3 months but failed to locate the plane's main wreckage. This search ended in May 2018, with no breakthroughs. Renewed hope, the latest search plan. Today, Malaysia's transport minister announced a new agreement with the same US exploration company. The deal outlines an 18-month search plan with the following terms. The company will only receive $70 million in payment if the plane's main wreckage is found. Small debris or minor discoveries will not qualify for compensation. The optimal search period is January to April, due to favorable oceanic conditions. This renewed effort raises cautious optimism, particularly among families of the victims, many of whom were Chinese nationals, making the incident deeply significant in China. Why this matters? The mystery of MH370 remains a source of sorrow and frustration for the victims' families and aviation experts alike. The disappearance underscores the vulnerabilities in global air travel and the need for advancements in aircraft tracking technology. As Malaysia and the US firm prepare to embark on this latest search, there is a glimmer of hope that answers may finally emerge. The world will be watching. That's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.